a lot of athletes, well, like you said, worry about looking bad. So they're scared to make a mistake. That will cripple any athlete in any game. If you're scared to make mistakes, you will never even sniff your potential. What's up, guys? To the first ever 31 Vision podcast. I'm super excited. General overview of what we're going to bring to you is just awareness to what the process is going to be for a high school athlete transitioning to college, or what's going to be in your future in college. It's a lot of things that need to be looked over and communicated about, but you don't know until you go through the process. So this is what this is, to bring awareness. And we're also going to bring business owners, people that are going to shine a light on like different career choices you might want to have, so it's really pumped.
That's great. That's good. That's good. It's cool to be able to do this, man.
Bring a little more awareness,
I think this is going to be great. I think a lot of people are going to connect to this. I think you have a gift for speaking and communicating. You've always had, and I think this is great.
It's a great platform, man. Excited.
What prompted you to start Vision or 31 Vision?
So when I was playing college ball, since I was in high school, I always wanted to be a pro. I knew two things. I wanted to be a pro, and I wanted to give back to the community, like using my name as a professional athlete to like have some kind of foundation, some kind of nonprofit where I can help out, Little Havana or little areas like where I grew up in, or just that need help, in general. But then the way life played out, I didn't work out, right? So after college, I was like, all right, I got to find a career. I ended up choosing training. But on the other half, I was like, I may not have the name that I wanted, but I still do want to give back. And then I still didn't know what I wanted to do, though. I was still like, man, how can I do something that I enjoy, but I can help out? And then eventually I got to the idea of just helping athletes avoid issues that I personally went through, because I didn't have someone to kind of look over and tell me, hey, look, this is how it's going to be, ABC 1, 2, 3, I was kind of learning everything, trial and error.
It's interesting because for like somebody like me that is not really involved in that world, you look at it and you think, okay, somebody just is athletic and they get good at a sport. And then they go, and you know what I mean? And then, okay, they're the best. And then they go to like a good high school. Then they go to like a good college. And then they go to like the NFL. But then like talking to somebody like you, like it blew my mind when I realized how like the machinery that was actually behind all like the like sports, it's like you don't, so like the average person doesn't realize it. Like, and I think that's what's so cool. Like, so what you're doing, because like your parents, you know what I mean? Like your mom. Yeah. She doesn't come from a sports family
at all.
You know what I mean? So like somebody
loved me to death, but she didn't know how to,
no idea. So like, you know what I mean? Like so people that come from sports family, or like they know like how it works. They know what you got to do,
how to play the game, everything, so man.
It's pretty cool. Like, and what would you say are like some of the main things that people that don't come from like sports mega families struggle with? Like, what are like the main things that people don't know, like that the average people don't know about, for somebody that's getting prepared to be an athlete?
That's an easy one. Giving blind trust to trainers. Giving blind trust to people that don't know what the F they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Just because something costs a certain price, it doesn't mean that they know what they're doing. They're just ripping you off. You know what I'm saying? And then there's other people that they just drop their kids off and they just leave. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know if what they're doing is functional for their sport. You don't know what kind of advice they're giving them. For example, for me, right? Circling back to South Miami High School, coaches were teaching me the wrong techniques for things. So when I got to college, what did I have to do? I had to change my back pedal. So if you don't have a football background, a back pedal is kind of like something you need to be able to do, which is just go backwards while you cover a receiver. And they were showing me certain techniques to flipping my hips that was not the best way to play. And then when I got to college, I had to change up a lot of physical habits that I had for 4 years, because that's what this person taught me, And that's all just wasted time in the overall scheme of things, you know. And in the life of sports, you want to build and grow and improve as fast as you can because your competition is everywhere. So imagine doing the wrong thing for 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, so
that's got to be tough. Like on a way different scale, I guess, like not even, but just kind of like to compare it to something. My wife recently started going to college, and she'd taken like the business route, you know, after school, but then she went back to college. Okay. So she saw the counselors, you know,
like go really good or really bad.
Well, because like my whole family, you know, has like been very involved in college, you know, so like she saw the counselor, and the counselor told her that she wasn't ready to start, that she should take some other class. She was trying to sell her something, you know?
Okay.
And I told her, like she came, like the counselor read the Bible to her, you know what I mean? And like, you know, like the way she came is like, because it's a counselor, like you think, all right, I should follow what they're saying.
You have my best interest at heart.
Right. And I had to tell her, like, look, that person is just giving you their opinion. Doesn't mean that that's actually what you need to do. It's like, so I told her, what you need to do is just go take the exam and see if you're ready. Because like, how do you know if you're ready if you don't?
Exam, yeah, perfect.
But the counselor was telling her not to take it. They would tell her
they want her to get lower credits, right? So you have to be in school longer, so I was more money.
No. She went, she took the class, she took the test, she passed it.
Awesome.
She started, and she's fitting right in. She doesn't like the classes they're not hard for her or nothing. So like, I know it's a completely different thing, but like I'm like comparing to that. Okay, so it's a thing where I remember there was a time like 15, 20 years ago, maybe when I was a kid, where like when people thought that books were true, like anything that was in a book was true. So like if somebody said, man, I read it in a book. Right. Like, what does that mean? Like anybody can write a book.
Right.
But like,
it's like the internet nowadays. Like,
you know what I'm saying? The internet. But like 20 years ago, people thought that if it was in a book, it was factual.
Nobody reference checked anything. No one, you know, double checked, you know.
So I guess maybe that kind of compares to that a little bit. Like people 100%. Say, okay, the guy's a coach. Like you see it now, right? With all the martial arts people. And like for years, like before UFC and before mixed martial arts came around, like if somebody was a master, like if somebody had a black belt at something, everybody thought they knew what they were doing.
Oh, you got to be good.
They're good, like fighter, because you know what I mean. And then like actual because there was no real like there was points competition, but there were no like there was no real competition. And then when real competition came about, like that's when it's like, okay,
who knows what, you know?
Who actually knows? You know?
Right.
That's cool. That's interesting. So how was starting like Vision, like 31 Vision? Like what was the hardest thing? Money, but what was the hardest thing when you started it? You started this before the pandemic or after? It was before, right?
We are 5 years old. Yeah.
Okay.
We started in 2018. Yeah. Okay. We started in 2018, and I just started with, I was like, all right, I have a million things that I want to do, but what I can offer right now is just free workouts. And then fast forward 5 years later, and we've offered like 130 something, 40 something free workouts, you know? And we've offered a few camps along the way. During COVID, we were on pause, you know, for obvious reasons, but once things started going back to normal, we just kicked right back up, you know?
Okay.
But we definitely have other goals in mind that, like you said, starts with money, you know? So we're signing up for some grants. We're trying to get things rolling. Once those grants come in, then we have some long-term goals that we want to reach, you know, like helping kids with school, like ACT prep, SAT prep, tutors.
Blue, you know? Can you slide back just a little bit? Just a little bit. And you can move that. Thank you. All right, that's good. Appreciate it.
Get out of the way, Blue.
No, Jesus. Not like that. I didn't mean like that. Did not mean like that. Okay.
I'm going to fire my assistant.
No. You
it's an intern, exactly.
You can't fire someone if you're not paying them. That's a good one. So you were saying about this,
So SAT prep, ACT prep, help them with like after school, you know, just like put some time aside for education, because another topic we haven't spoken about yet is where are you going to school geographically in your city? You know, if you're at a private school, your education is one thing. If you go to a public school, not all public schools are bad, but you know, you get what you pay for kind of thing. You know what I mean? And
I remember it's like talking about like private and public school. I remember Booker T. Washington.
Right off the highway right here.
They had such a good football team.
They still do.
Bro, and it's a public school like in the middle of the ghetto. Well, like now this area is getting gentrified.
Right.
You know, I was supposed to go to Booker T, but I just didn't go to school at all. I just left. That's a different story.
Yeah.
That's a different story. But they always had the best, and like a lot of amazing athletes have come out of here.
Oh yeah, 100%. They still have a great squad now. So yeah, great program. Yeah. So besides athletics, just education standpoint, yes, in athletics there are some Booker T's. You know, there are other schools, but for the most part, you know, you have less material. For example, I'm training 2 kids from Columbus right now.
Okay.
As soon as they go to school, they get an iPad and a Mac.
Wow.
Off rip.
An iPad and a Mac. Like, what do you need both of those for?
Why not? That's what they're saying. They're like, yo, here and here, both have it.
Crazy.
And then there's other schools that they're trying to get books. They're trying,
they got one Mac for the whole school. from 2004.
A paperweight, you know?
Yeah. I hear you.
So the circumstances are different. And also, teachers and coaches do not get paid enough.
Okay.
They do not get paid enough.
I agree with you there.
So there are coaches that they coach multiple sports just to meet a certain number at the end of the year. But if there are some kids that are trying to take that sport serious, is that fair to them? You know, so
I see what you're saying.
So if you're just there to collect a check, which was the case at South Miami High School, I'm class of 2010, you know, and maybe one day on here, I'll bring one of my teammates so we can kind of talk about how things went and how things could have been different. But we definitely did not have the best guidance. You know, they were teaching us the wrong things with football. Some things were right. They were. But a lot of things they weren't, you know. And then, for example, like they were hiding letters from me because I butted heads with the coach.
Oh man,
right? And they were hiding letters of intent for me. The only reason why I got one is because wild. The JV coach got it to me, took it from the office.
That is crazy. They were hiding letters, like college letters of intent
and invitations to camps.
That's like
the only
ridiculous.
The only reason why I went to the one camp that I went to, Coach Jackson. Bless that guy's soul. He's the best. He was the JV coach. Okay. Man, playing for that man, so much fun, you know? And then once we went to varsity, things changed. Different coaches, you know, a lot more serious, you know? And yeah, I didn't get along at all with that guy.
You know what?
And he was the head coach.
That's the other thing. So like, along the same lines of counselors, coaches, like teachers aren't meant to be good. Like they're supposed to be good. Like, you know, but man, when a teacher is bad, and you know what, like, okay, so maybe the teacher's not bad, but maybe the teacher does not understand. A lot of times teachers think you're not going to go anywhere. And they think they're doing you a favor, and they're like, they want to push you into like an academic instead of a sport because they think you're not going to make it. But like, who are you to decide that though? You know what I mean? Like, that's not your job.
I've been told by coaches and teachers, plural, in high school that I wasn't going to amount to it.
It's crazy. That's not.
I'm like, okay,
that's not the job, though.
All right, you know, whatever. And then, you know, and I've always lived with a chip on my shoulder. Like, I may be very forgetful for a lot of things, but there are certain things that I'll never forget.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So, you know, we didn't have the best guidance, you know. And then as I became aware of that, circling back to how 31 Vision started. If I can help and speak up like this podcast, if I can help and speak up about stories and help parents have this certain awareness, they can help lead their kids in the right direction without having to pay any money for that guidance, you know? Because a lot of times people lead you a certain way only because they want something out of it themselves.
I see.
You know? So there's a lot more to the college route than parents understand.
Well, I mean, it is a business, you know? I mean, ultimately it is a business. And that's the thing. Like no matter how you want to not make it a business,
too much money involved.
It's a business. There's going to be money at the end of it. So it's a business. Like, you know,
that tuition that's getting paid for the athlete is coming from somewhere. It doesn't just come out of midair, you know?
That's right.
So there's definitely a lot of money involved, thousands of dollars, you know, over X number of players on a football team, because football teams are way bigger than like a basketball, soccer, you know, so on.
Let me ask you this. How has the response been from like athletes to do this, to like show up and come and help you out and come to help train some of these kids? How's the response been?
The response, like from parents, and what's pretty cool is,
well, not so like, I don't mean like so much parents, but like I mean fellow athletes, like other athletes that you know, like how has their response been like to come and do some? Because I've seen some of the videos, and you got some like, you got kids, but I've seen you also have like other athletes, like already mature athletes, you know?
Yeah.
Has that been an easy thing, or it's hard to get them to come out?
They just have to go to one camp. Like it's really funny to see a person's body language change when it goes from mandatory community service hours to, I actually like this feeling of helping kids and giving back. And since we're on year 5, that means I've had some kids for 4 years. So they graduated high school.
Right.
And the most heartwarming thing is they stick around. Like they already got their hours a long time ago.
Yeah.
Coach, whenever you need help at a camp, I'm there. I'll volunteer, you know, whatever. And it's cool to see like we're starting a cycle. So the longer 31 Vision stays alive, the more we'll see like that circle of life. And as those kids get older and so on, and it'll just, hopefully it keeps going, paying it forward.
So now I've seen the videos online, but how does it work? Like, is it an ongoing thing, or is it something like, is it camps that you set up at a certain times a year? How does the actual training work with like 31 Vision?
So with 31 Vision, the workouts stay generalized, so any athletes are welcome. So it'll be like plyometrics, speed training, agility, you know, everything very generalized, so any athlete can come. And then
but I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what I mean is like, how often does it happen? Like, is it like camps that you set up, or is it like a monthly thing?
So there's both. So
got it.
There's the weekly workouts.
Okay.
All right. So it's me and 3 other coaches, and we take over the month, and it's always on the weekends. And we offer that once a weekend. And then there are also camps that we offer maybe every 2 to 3 months on special occasions on certain times. So yeah, and then we have a group chat where it's all parents pretty much, and some of the high school athletes, and we announce everything ahead of time there. So everyone knows when stuff goes on.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
What's like, obviously besides from your time, which is the first, you know, what's the biggest financial needs that you encounter? Is it gear? Is it like maybe
football's expensive?
Do you do the trainings at a particular place? Does somebody offer you a facility to do this, or you have to rent a place out? You know what I mean? Like, what are the expenses associated with? Because a lot of times people like, there might be a lot of people watching this that know, you know what I mean? But a lot of people don't. A lot of people just drop the kids off.
They're like, oh, it's free, cool.
So what are the expenses associated?
Thank you for asking that, because there's a lot, way more than people are aware of, and we offer everything for free.
Wow.
So people look at me, they're like, well, what's the catch? I'm like, there's still catch. It's for free. Just sign a waiver. You go at certain times, you know, be there to pick them up at a certain time. If you want to leave, if you choose to stay, you can stay, no problem. But yeah, I pay rent at a gym. So when we do the workouts at the gym, that's coming out of my pocket.
Right.
You know, and then at parks sometimes, or when we throw these camps, we got to pay the rental of the fields, you know, equipment. When they go, there's coolers full of Gatorades, water, you know. Last camp, every single kid got like a little string bag, right? It had 2 different kinds of workout bands and a shirt, you know, for every single kid that was there. And there was a lot of kids there. That adds up.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
The kids were running around, and it was like, you know, the coin sound in like Mario. You can hear. I imagine that.
Yeah.
But
a lot goes into it.
I mean, obviously you do it because you love it, you know. So, but at the same time, even though you love it, it's still, you know, it's there is still a financial burden attached to it, you know.
100%.
So, cool. So it's great. It's great for people to know that. It's great for people to know that this is a great program. It's an amazing program because it's focused on kids and on young athletes, and that they can also help. You know what I mean? That they can also be involved.
One thing I didn't see coming about this process was people doubting it because it's free. You pay for something, you're like, all right, I'm gonna get
Bro,
this.
You'd be surprised. So like at my church a couple years ago, we said we wanted to do something just to help the community. I said, we said, we're not gonna do we wanted to pick something to do just to help. We weren't gonna do any preaching. We're just gonna help, right? So we said, let's set up a free car wash, and we'll do it every 2 weeks.
Free car wash.
That's it. Just free car wash. That's it. We're not gonna
no strings attached.
Nothing. We're not gonna give you an invitation. No, just let them come. We wash our car. Let them leave. So we just wanted to do a community service, right?
Okay.
People didn't want to stop. We had everything. We had everything. The brushes,
the bells and whistles. Everything.
We had the rags. We were gonna do an actual, good job.
Yeah.
And we had the parking lot set up, and we were in a big intersection. Free car wash. People a few people stopped. They were scared. I was like, "What is this?"
What do you mean free?
It's a free car wash. Yeah, but what's going on? I bet you.
Are you steal my car?
If we were to put in, if we were to put if we were to set up. If we were to printed a sign, from just a $200 sign, and we were to set up a tent on the parking space, like there is all over the place, and we would have put a sign $15 car wash, everybody people would just come in.
It blows my mind.
But a lot of time, and boy, you know what I mean, and it tells you about the state of the time we're in. A lot of people are
Miami
afraid of things,
and the United States.
Yeah, bro, because there's a lot of scams. There's a lot of people running around doing shady stuff,
Of course. It's Miami at the end of the day.
But it's great to see it happening. It's great to see it,
It's all thanks to the parents, man. The parents spread the word, as much as I believe in technology and I do everything on social platforms, word of mouth is huge, So they see that even if I have a small number of kids or an entire camp, I give the same energy. I give the same energy no matter what. But and they appreciate that, because it doesn't come at a cost. Nice.
So let me ask you this. What are some of the cool experiences? If you have one cool experience that you had, I mean, I know over 5 years, they have to be a lot of great experiences, but what would be one cool experience that you remember? In that members chat, I have made comments in the past, guys, if you have anything you want to give away, I'll find stuff to give to other families in need, Nothing really happened. And then one day, a family they were sleeping I found out a family was sleeping on the floor. Oh, wow.
And immediately I asked the chat, of these amazing people, hey guys, does anybody have furniture, whatever. Long story short, by the end of that day, that woman and her kids, she had multiple kids. They all had somewhere to sleep on. We gave them a full set of furniture.
That's cool.
That was just sitting in someone's garage, And all I had to do was reach out to the parents chat, and we helped that family, And that felt really good, man.
What do you see where do you see this going? Where do you see 31 Vision going? I know you have to have a lot of dreams for it and a lot of...
I do. And we want to change the culture. I genuinely believe, I sound like an old man saying this, but I feel like the younger generation, I feel like things are being lost in translation. When you play the phone game, by the time it gets to that person, it's a whole other message.
Yeah.
I feel like people my age or slightly younger than me are not doing a good enough job of molding the next generation, because these kids are growing up with technology and it's kind of altering their perception of how things should be. And in a society where we can communicate the fastest, we're communicating the least with our next generation.
That's interesting right there. You just said something there. On a society where we can communicate the fastest, we're communicating the least. That's a bar. You dropped the bar.
I dropped the bar.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
And it's on us to mold the way for them. Show them the difference between right and wrong. And the issue with some of these 31 Vision athletes is their household is the problem. So the people that are supposed to love you and show you the right way are not doing that. So if these kids succeed, it's not because of their parents. It's in spite of their parents that they succeeded. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So and that's what 31 Vision is about. Try to help you out of your personal circumstance. So to answer your question, long-term goals to offer housing for kids that are in a terrible situation.
Super cool.
Like kids that fall through the cracks.
Super cool.
And then just cover every aspect of a young athlete's life, right? So that's education, school, finding a way to community service, that. And then if their situation is extreme, housing, and get them to their dream school, hopefully for free too, if they're good enough of an athlete. Wow. But if not, academic scholarships. That's another thing I didn't touch up on. Showing kids coming out of high school, there are a lot of scholarship opportunities that all you got to do is write a paper or make some kind of presentation. Yeah. And you might get it, And
then and they just don't know anything about it.
Everyone just gets in debt right away. Everyone just jumps to the conclusion of let me just get this loan and just go in debt. That's what you do with college. You just go in debt.
Go in debt, right. Crazy.
For certain careers, it's not even necessary. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah. No, but it's cool. Yeah, you definitely. Exactly. For some careers, you don't even have to go. For a lot of careers, you don't have to go to college. I 100% believe in preparation, but preparation doesn't have to be in college. You have to get prepared. You know what I mean? But, if you're gonna get into real estate, you don't necessarily have to go to college. Yeah, college will help you increase your maybe your communication level, the basic, improve your knowledge of the English language, math, whatever. Right, but you can do that if you're disciplined. You can also do that on your own. 100%. You know what I mean? You can do that on your own. And if you're if you're gonna be an electrician, if you're gonna be a underwater welder,
certain vocational
there's a
jobs.
Lot of look, the word vocational job, right? It's geared towards giving it a lesser than.
Really? Okay.
But there's a lot of vocational skills or careers. Yeah. Where people that do these jobs get paid $35, $40, $45, $50 an hour. That's not a vocational job, bro.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know what I mean? It's vocational,
Yeah.
So and a lot of this, for example, in what I do, I work in water plants. And the degree of licensing I hold now, you don't have to go to college to have that degree of licensing. But it takes about 6 years to get it. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of, and it's not the license I have does not belong to a company. It's mine and it's signed by the state.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of jobs, there's a lot of careers that just do not, like you were saying, necessarily mean. And even if you do go to college, my wife's going to college, we're paying for it. We're not taking any debt. We're paying for everything, And I do believe that people can do that. Even if you don't, even if you are young and you have a bad, it's my opinion, you know what I mean? I think that I would rather take 5 years or 6 years to finish college instead of finishing in 2 or 3 and have it fully paid than have to then do 4 years or 6 years to then pay him out in the next 20 years.
Yep. And that happens to a lot more people. But just since people don't talk about it, but that's the norm. That's the norm. Yeah. Scholarships don't really go out like that, but there's plenty of money that the government gives as either a grant or certain things like that just parents don't know about, And that all goes back to also the counselors. It's the entire system. It's the teachers, the counselors, the coaches. If the right people are in those positions, these kids are going to flourish. But in a lot of schools, they're not, you know? So that's part of the issue. It's a system.
See. Cool. Now, what would you say it's, what you say is a a big challenge that like 31 Vision faces and what people can help you with? What is like a big challenge you think for this program?
One of our challenges has been to get female athletes. So the workouts have been going on for 5 years now, and I feel bad because the girls kind of trickle in every now and then, and they'll come like one at a time. So when they come, they feel a little uncomfortable. You can tell by their body language. They're surrounded by a bunch of boys, so they feel uncomfortable. If all the girls that have trickled into 31 Vision over the 5 years somehow can have magically come at the same time, I guarantee you they will be a part of us now,
Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's hard to get female athletes in?
I think it's more of a personal thing for me since I played football. Like, for example, if I played soccer, I think I would have a lot more access to girls.
I see.
But the female flag football game is just now getting big.
I see.
So for football, most of my kids are football. I do have some soccer, basketball, even wrestling. But for the female athletes, I'm going to have to do a little more networking.
So if you had more like volunteer coaches for like soccer or like what's another female dominated sport?
Softball.
Yeah. What else? Tennis. Well, you guys don't do tennis,
just about
right?
Everything. Track.
Okay, so this takes us to a good question. What or how many sports are you currently doing, and how many sports are you projecting to cover?
One day we're going to cover across the board, like a whole calendar school year. We're going to cover everything. And then one day we're going to have specific coaching for each sport.
Awesome.
Right now, since it's only me and three other coaches, we're all like strength and conditioning coaches, fitness coaches. So we keep the workouts generalized for sports performance. So anyone can do it. But one day, that's a great question. One day we will have it specific. So you can work on exactly your craft.
So right now it's more geared to like strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
So doing strength exercises, running, increasing cardio and
right, getting jumping higher, running faster, all that stuff.
Yeah, stuff that you can use pretty much in any team sport.
Yeah, and another thing that we haven't touched on is, I'm a trainer. There are so many athletes that college sometimes I have to unteach them things from the weight room. Like they work out a certain way and they're in a certain age that you shouldn't be working out like this. Like someone should have taught you better.
You know what I find super cool? When I see athletes from one discipline train in another discipline to get better at their craft. Like I've seen a lot of football guys and I've seen a lot of fighters do ballet. Yeah, and it helps them, I guess, with their stance and with their
football
footwork,
players have done that,
with their footwork and like a lot of. I was like, man, it's interesting. But even like I've also seen some film and documentary of like soccer guys doing training with football guys, just to increase some of the footwork and vice versa. It's interesting.
A large percentage of the NFL, don't quote me on the percentage. I think it was like 40. It was like a good chunk. Were 3-sport athletes in high school, and that's not a coincidence. There's a couple factors that goes into it. One, if you just work on your sport all year round, you're going to burn out a little bit. Other sports, you have fun. It's not as much pressure as your main sport, right? So you have fun. And like you said, it complements your main sport.
It gives you like an edge, right? Like an additional.
It just makes you very well-rounded and working with different teammates, seeing different philosophies. Like, for example, if you're at your school, let's say like you play football, you run track, and you play basketball, whatever. What if two of the coaches don't really know what they're talking about with working out, but then the track coach knows his stuff?
Okay.
You have more of a possibility of getting better, not putting all your eggs in one basket.
I see.
So in high school, I can be a little bit of a gamble for sure. Listening to just one person.
Yes, definitely. How like something that's always intrigued me about sports, like in a high school and even like middle school level, right? How are kids dealing with the pressures of social media? Because I know that that has brought a completely different level to the game, and a lot of kids,
uncharted territory.
are getting hurt younger and are getting like this is something that I've seen like, and once again, I'm not like knee deep into the sport, but like as an outsider, I've seen there's a lot of kids that like 20 years ago would have been playing in the dark, but now they have so much pressure because they have a few highlights in social media. And you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they were like, you're doing that with their local, like with their local circuit, you know? Mm-hmm. But maybe that's not going to work against the like next
elite competition,
5 or 6 elite high schools of the, you know what I mean? Like, and kids like, you know, 20 years ago when, if somebody got like a good camera and like it's like it was rare to get placed online, right? So like you could have a bad game and like next week it doesn't matter. Like now you have a bad game and it could follow you for months. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like how are these
cyberbullying is a real thing?
And how do you see these kids? And I think you kind of came up halfway into that because when you were coming out of high school, and it was already like
AIM and MySpace.
It was already, but it was already happening.
It was kicking up, yeah.
Not like now, but now they have. I think you might have showed me one where they have all these websites too with the highlights. They have all this that you can look for the high school players and
yep.
It's madness. Like how do you see kids reacting to that?
So
I think it has to have negatives and positives, right?
Of course, just like anything else. But one of the biggest negatives that I've seen, a lot of athletes, like you said, worry about looking bad. So they're scared to make a mistake. That will cripple any athlete in any game. If you're scared to make mistakes, you will never even sniff your potential. You have to be okay with making mistakes. You have to be okay with going 100%, living with what the results of what happened, improve on it, rinse, repeat. You know, but if you're scared of making mistakes and looking bad on camera, you're losing, you know, but that's definitely a pressure for sure. If some of the kids slack, I train soccer teams. When they start slacking, I pull the phone out. Magically, they all start trying really hard when I pull that phone out. It's like, we didn't have that pressure for sure. You know, cameras on our phones were terrible. They were pixelated.
I think, and I think like on the other side of that coin, maybe if there's anything positive, because I really don't think there's a lot of positives in that, but like if there's anything positive in that, maybe the kid that grows up, like, because you know
the positive is
there used to be just one LeBron James, because like that was the guy that was on like always on camera, Alex Rodriguez, like all these kids that were like in camera since they were like 15 or 14, you know,
like Neymar, one of those like child prodigies.
Now that all these kids that are good at their high school, they're all like kind of feeling that experience because they're all on camera. Maybe the positive is because they are so used to pressure, maybe when they make it to the bigger leagues, like they're already used to playing under pressure. It's not a thing where they never...
It's different kind of pressure.
No, but like, no, I imagine, like, I'm not saying I know, like, I have no idea. Yeah. But like, even though, so, okay, it's kind of like when someone's training martial arts, if you always go through the moves, but you never spar,
whole different ballgame.
Like maybe that pressure they're going through, it's like sparring for the bigger pressure. I don't know if that makes like what I'm saying makes any sense. It's never gonna be the same, but maybe it's like because like I was saying 15 years ago or 20 years ago, there was, other than locally, there was no pressure because there was nobody seeing you besides
whoever was live there.
Besides your, you know what I mean?
In the stadium, whatever, yeah.
But now, like, man, you could be playing in Florida and somebody's watching you in California. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you're in high school.
One of the positives that I love and I actually envy from my athletes that are younger is if you're a football player, you can go on your Huddle account, which is on most teams. It's like a basic necessity now, where you record your practice. If you don't know what Huddle is, you record your practices and your games, and then you can make your own highlights. You don't need to pay. Like when I was in high school, you had to pay somebody to put things together. You don't even know what they're looking at. You don't know what plays they're choosing, what's available. I never got to see my high school footage or what. Now you can go through your own Huddle, make your own highlights, cut the middleman out, and promote yourself. And then on the other aspect of it, having an online presence, it's really awesome to find those athletes that might get overlooked because they go to a bad school, but they're still gifted, but their school's record is bad. That happens too. Some of those kids fall through the cracks. A good player on a bad team.
How do you help like the young athletes like that you deal with? How do you help them with that? Like, have you found a way you can help them out with that pressure?
They all deal with different pressures. So
Okay.
for example, like there's some kids that their parents are the pressure.
I see.
There are some kids that they feel it because they're at a higher level. They feel it from social media. Some of them feel it from their coaches. So I kind of just like try to fit the mold of what they need. I don't have like a one size fits all kind of philosophy,
Right.
but depends on what the kid needs pretty much. What's great about 31 Vision is the kids have their guard down with me because they know I don't want anything from them.
Right.
And the more they talk to me, the more they see like, oh man, like Coach Lou is trustworthy, like he really just wants what's best for me. That's the overall message of it.
You know what? I think also what is helpful from like still like staying in topic. We're going to move to something else, but staying in topic of like technology and social media. I think the other thing that is helpful is also to give you a more like a reality check or a more realistic perspective. Because like if your universe is your high school town or
Your little bubble.
you know what I mean? That's so you think you're good because like you're good here. But then when you watch some other kid running twice as fast as you and you watch the other kid like 2 towns down, it's like, oh snap, it kind of like gives you that
Definitely
like,
humbles you for sure.
humbles you and maybe even gives you a drive. So like I think that maybe for some kids that pressure it makes it hard, and maybe for other kids that pressure can actually bring even a better athlete.
Absolutely. It just depends on what. And what's great, another thing that I envy about these young athletes now that I train, they have so much information at their fingertips.
Okay.
So let's say a coach tells me something that I know is wrong. Back then, he would tell me, you're a jit. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm your coach. You're going to listen to me. Fast forward to now, a coach goes, oh, you're supposed to do that coverage like that? This says otherwise. And this guy is a college coach. Like he has a great credentials. This says you're wrong. What are you going to say now?
Yeah.
That's a whole different, you can fact check people.
Yeah.
That's a strong.
You know what?
weapon.
You're right about that. You're right. That's 100% right.
And on the other end, on the more positive end, it elevates a lot of people that might have been a little ignorant on some topics. They increase their knowledge if you have that thirst for knowledge.
Yeah.
Ignorance is an option. If you want to just stay ignorant on a topic, that's cool. If you want to teach yourself something, the internet's there for you, from the right references.
No desire to, like, we don't have to get into politics of any sort.
Right.
But how do you feel the idea of rewarding participation versus rewarding results? How do you feel that damages young athletes?
Such a great question. I think participation is something that is required to be successful, but it does not mean that you have won anything in any kind of way. And I think losing, show me someone when they're down and show me someone when they're up.
Yeah.
And that shows me, you're showing me your character.
Yeah.
So you got to learn how to lose in order to appreciate the wins. If you're always like, oh, I won because I went. What do you mean you won just because you attended? No, there's someone wins, someone loses.
I'm fascinated by the Spartans and the Greek and the Warriors, and something that they would do with the young Spartan warriors when they were getting prepared. I might butcher this a little bit because I'm not a history teacher and nothing like that, but I've read about it. Is that they would put younger kids to train with older kids so that they would have to fight and lose. And like all of them, like the older kid had to fight an older kid, and all of them would get paired with an older, so you would learn how to
take
lose.
that L.
And they you had to fight until you couldn't give, you had to fight, you had to lose.
Yeah.
And you had to learn how to lose time and time and again. So you would fight until you lost. You were not surrendering.
Right.
You were getting defeated, not surrendered. I think there's honorable to be defeated. There's nothing wrong with being defeated.
Trying your hardest, no matter what.
So if you're lost, and like there's nothing. The problem is when you surrender. You know what I mean? Like you just surrendered, like gave up. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with being defeated by someone else that was better at that time. Nothing. Nothing wrong. And but like when you like when you surrender, you defeat yourself. Like that's.
And a lot of parents, going back to the participation thing, a lot of parents babying their kids. I train a lot of kids in a span of my personal business and 31 Vision. So all I do is see athletes of different ages, different sports. But I am seeing one common trend, and that's mental weakness. Right? Being mentally tough was always something that doesn't go across the board. There's always some people that are one way and other people that are another. But I am seeing with a lot of young athletes, it's becoming more rare for a kid to be mentally tough, to be able to take on adversity on the chin and just go. And I think part of that goes back to participation trophies. Losing, nobody loses.
Nobody loses.
All
right.
that, it's like, no, there's a winner and a loser.
Oh, you lost. Kid.
You lost. Either win.
Yeah.
Like go try harder.
Right.
So you can beat that same person or quit.
Yeah.
But you didn't get a free win. Right. That's not what happened.
Right.
Because then these kids, you fatten them up. Then when they go to the real world, when they're like 18, 21, they get slaughtered. They get slaughtered. That's not how life works.
Right.
Sometimes a whole other topic. Sometimes it's not even about what you know, it's who you know.
Yes.
So you can be way more qualified than another person for a job or career, something that will change your life. But that guy plays golf with his guy's son, and no, he got the job. And this guy is nowhere near as qualified as you.
And you know how many, like, history repeats itself time and time again. How many of these guys that have been great, like they've been born with a skill, they've trained, they've done everything right, but they've always been protected from losing. They've always, like, their parents always get involved or whatever,
like soften the blow, or like, I don't know,
at whatever level, whether it's with the coaches, like they always get involved. But there's gonna come a point where it's gonna be too big, and that's professional sports. Professional sports is too big, and the competition is too high, and you go in there, and man, you know what I mean? You're swimming with the sharks now. There's not like there's gonna be like.
No, but those kids will make it there, so it's okay.
The degree you need the degree of mental. Like what I'm saying is, you need, besides, like, how many athletes are super skilled and are even better and they're even better than some of the MVPs, but they lack that mental thing that when, like, at practice they're amazing, but once the game is on, can't do it.
Or not even just the game. Let's take it a step further. At the end of a game.
Or
that splits up careers.
You're right. The end of a game.
The last 5-10% of a game.
Yeah.
That splits, like, the greats from the all greats.
You can see they can't handle the pressure.
And you see it across any sport. How do you act when the game's on the line,
Yeah, I think learning how to operate under pressure, I think it's a skill that can be learned. And I think avoiding or protecting, I don't think you should, like, kids should just try to handle any sort of pressure. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's like, just like giving them too much pressure for their body, like for an arm, or like, you can break them as well. So like, but like keeping them from it all the way, it's also dangerous. I think like introducing them to pressure, I think that could be
sink or swim. Yeah. Sink or swim. If being down, says a lot about what you got to do. You can either tap out. It's very simple. I try to oversimplify things when the kids ask me for advice, and it's either quit, adjust, adapt, and improve.
Yeah,
one or the other. That's it. And when I oversimplify things to them, they're like, "Damn, that really are my only options." I'm like, "Yeah, man, you can't." That self-pity stuff that doesn't get anybody anywhere. You got to be able to, and always think about. I always tell the kids, there's always someone worse off than you. Yes. Before you start feeling sorry for yourself, give yourself like a day, maybe some hours. That's it. Once that day passes, whatever happened to you, the way you respond to it is way more important than what happened to you.
You're
so
right.
that self-pity stuff, that's for the weak, you know? So you got to train yourself to be strong, because as humans, even adults, we always jump to the negative first. For some reason, as human beings, we always jump to the negative first instead of talking to ourselves like we talk to our best friends. We doubt ourselves, or we're like, oh, can I really do this?
That self-talk is so
and that voice gets loud at the end of the game. That voice gets real loud. So being able to be like, just zone out and be like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this happen. Or I just at least try my best to make it happen. And that's the difference between, you know, certain careers.
Yeah, man. I think you said a lot just then. That's super important. You know, I was also thinking while you were talking, I was also thinking that the skill, and like this is often said, but a lot of times I feel like it's said as a cliche, what I'm about to say. But the skills that you learn playing a sport, you do apply in life.
100%.
And especially like I think more, because like when people hear that, they think you're talking about throwing a ball or kicking a ball. I don't think that's it. I think the skills of learning how to communicate with other people, like when the clock's ticking, you know, learning how to be on time for the training, learning how to lose, you know what I mean? Learning how to play under pressure, learning how to follow, learning when it's time to follow the playbook and when it's time not to. That's a huge one. That is an amazing, like, not everyone has that ability. And like at times you can't follow that playbook. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. So one thing that I didn't learn till after my career is I was trying so hard to hit the field in my college teams. And I'm just trying to do what the coach is telling me to do and do it by his eyes, because he's telling me you shouldn't do it like this. But if I'm getting the end result, what does it matter how I do it? Whatever. So I'll do it the way they want me to do it. But like you said, there's times where you just gotta throw that out the window and just play ball, you know, and just do things how you're meant to do them on your own, you know.
But definitely understanding where the different when it's not just your ego, and when it's actually like because you understood the playbook, because you trained it, because you drilled it, because you know how to perform it, and knowing all of that and understanding the game, open your vision to see that it cannot be applied at this moment. Because that's like,
it's a judgment call.
But I think that skill is super important for life. And it's because life is not always black and white. You know what I'm saying?
Mostly gray.
And then especially in like at a job, you know what I mean? That is a super, super.
Here's another one. Here's another one. Real easy. How to work with people you don't like. But you still got to achieve a goal.
How to recognize their skill. Because a lot of times,
look past personal bias.
You don't like the person because you don't like him. They're trash. It's like
just not always true.
And you're like, you don't like the person, but they run fast and they can catch a ball. Throw it at him.
Yeah.
You don't have to like him.
It's about winning at the end of the day. That common goal.
You know what I mean? He can catch it. He runs fast. Throw it. And a lot of, and that's something you see even in professional, like even at the professional levels. Some athletes have a problem. Now they're not passing the ball to each other.
Another thing too, like you just touched on it. So I would butt heads with coaches because I was way too outspoken. I didn't that going back to the when to do things.
Yeah.
You know, when to challenge a coach is when you're by yourself and you tell the coach one-on-one, you're wrong about this.
Okay.
What did John Lewis Hernandez do in front of everyone in the meeting room? Why? So anyway, so the value that I bring to the table as a football player.
Yeah.
If you butt heads with me, cool. But you know I'm the best player for this position. You know, but coaches also do that. So if you don't kiss, you know, ASS, you know, if you don't do certain things, then you're not gonna get the job.
I see.
What does the politics behind closed doors have to do with the field?
Right.
You know, and that plays a big role in sports in general.
That also makes for a lousy coach, I guess, too.
Well, there's a lot of them because these stories happen a lot, man. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. Yeah. It's a lot of talented athletes sitting on benches.
Yeah. Are you ready to wrap this up? Is there something else you want to cover?
No.
I think this has been great.
Yeah, man.
All of your social media links are on the scrolling ticker at the bottom of the screen. Is there any additional message you have for all the people who are going to be watching and listening to this podcast?
Just like and share. Just like and share. Spread the love.
Okay.
That's about it.
Subscribe to your channel. And
subscribe to YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Across the board. All the social networks.
If someone would like to get connected with you to like donate, whether it is financials or their time, or maybe become involved as participating, how can they do that?
On any of our social media, we have our emails there, or sometimes phone numbers as well. And on the website, there are plenty of ways to contact us for sure.
Okay.
So
if they want more information, or they can do that.
Absolutely. Yep.
If they want to bring some Gatorades.
Hey, we'll take it because all that costs money.
Okay. All right, let's close it out.
Awesome.